How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Guys, great dialogue coming our way. We're going to be talking about 5 things you need to know before entering a career in corrections. Guys, when I started in 2002, we didn't have YouTube channels dedicated to those getting ready to work in corrections. We didn't even have Facebook groups that were filled with other professionals looking to cultivate somebody coming in. You know, so this is great resource here because right now the new people, they're doing research. They want to know what it's like to work in this profession. So having a video like this being pushed forward is great because it gives them the proper mindset for what it is that they could be walking into. Now, granted, once you're there, it could be a different story, but it's good for us to try to get the mindset right first. So it's a great way to cultivate the mindset and give them an understanding of the type of environment you're going to be going into. So again, it's going to be called 5 things you need to know before entering a career in corrections. Now, guys, before I bring on my guests, this show is sponsored to you by 3 entities. First, we have American Military University. Guys, if you're looking to get that degree, if you're looking to seek higher education, please check out American Military University. It's a great online school, very supportive of what we do in corrections, very supportive of what we do on Tier Talk. So please, guys, check it out. We also have Guardian RFID. From inmate tracking and cell checks to cloud-based business and artificial intelligence, Guardian RFID digitally transforms jails, prisons, and juvenile detention facilities of every size. Visit guardianrfid.com for more information. And guys, we also put content on there as well. So there's some good tips you'll find on that channel. And we also have Thin Gray Line Media. That's my boy, David Schilling. If you guys are interested in writing a book, specifically about the corrections profession, it doesn't matter what department you're from or, you know, basically if you have a story to tell or a lesson to teach, Thin Gray Line Media will be very interested in seeing that and maybe helping you develop a book that you too can get on the market as well. I have 2 books already. The first one's already on the market. It's called Inmate Manipulation Decoded. That is available on Amazon. Link to that is in the description. And this book, Lessons Learned While Working in a Prison, My Journey from Officer to Administration. We are in the line edit right now. So hopefully we're done by August 15th. The book should go for about $45, which is a good price, believe it or not, because it's a thick book. It's a hardcover book. It's going to be utilized like a journal. But having said that, I'm shooting for the August 15th date. Hopefully we can still get on that date. It's all dependent on us getting through the line edits. All right. So there it is again. Lessons learned while working in prison. All right, Joe. What's up, Joe? What's going on? How's everything? And he's muted. I knew you were going to be muted at first. Let me unmute you, Joe.
Damn it. I had one job. Everything's good down here, brother. Just hot. How's it going up there?
Good, Joe. You mind introducing yourself to our audience?
Yes, sir. My name is Joe Pomponio. I'm a retired lieutenant with the Texas Department of Corrections of almost 30 years and a current panel member for Tier Talk.
Joe, you forgot to mention that you're also a manager at AutoZone.
Well, yeah. I sling alternators too.
Hey, Joe, real quick, 5 things you need to know before entering a career in corrections. Before you entered a career in corrections, what year did you start?
I started in 92.
92. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Before you entered into corrections, prison or jail, whatever the case may be, what resources were available to you that could give you a little dose of reality before entering the wall?
Oh, man. I mean, actually, as far as that goes, it was all word of mouth. You know, we didn't have Facebook. There was no advertisements on the radio. There were no TV commercials. There wasn't any Facebook. Hell, the internet wasn't even turned on then. So I actually got into it by word of mouth. A childhood friend of mine that I grew up with and hung out with actually got into the career. And he was the one that actually got me into it. He told me about it and sounded interesting, piqued my curiosity. And I went and toured a couple of facilities and seen what the job was. And 2 weeks later, I signed up.
Yeah. So, Joe, I mean, now where we're at now that we've evolved, we got social media and Facebook groups that consist of dedicated personnel. How much of a benefit is that now to those that are coming into this profession?
Oh, it's an awesome benefit because, I mean, hell, most of your most of your social media now gives you a more in-depth look into what the job entails, what your benefits are. I mean, basically everything up front, where I had to, when I signed up, I had to learn everything from my HR person during the academy as to what we were going to get, what we're, as far as benefits and pays and all that stuff, and in social media, it's everything's out there on top and in front and in your face. So, it's a definite plus.
Yeah, and I want to mention something too, guys. Usually people that work in corrections are very hidden from the public eye. So it's great for us to find these groups, or again, even the YouTube channel like we have now, that connects us with other professionals that work in this field. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't think, or not that I know of, before entering corrections, I don't even know if I ever met a correctional officer or anyone that worked in corrections. All I knew about what was on TV, which was far from reality, which eventually I discovered. So it's great to finally be put in these groups or connect with people through social media, because we do have a family base here on YouTube that do work in the profession, that can give you what it's like from their perspective. But the key is it's a perspective of walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And I love that, because right now, guys, the media will tell you one thing without going to the professionals. So this gives you hands-on people, with experience in the profession, that can go ahead and tell you this is what it's like, this is what you should expect. But more importantly, some of them stay with you. So when you go through these things, they'll tell you, okay, so what did you do? And they'll help cultivate you. They'll mentor you, especially in Russ's group, Keepers of Chaos. I see that a lot. So we came up with 5 things, me and Joe, that you need to know before entering a career in corrections. So the first thing I want to go right off the bat, and I would like to say this is in some type of order, but technically just take it as advice. It's not meant to be progressive. But the first thing is, guys, and I got to keep on saying this, but it's worth repeating. Corrections is a career, not just a stepping stone. So, Joe, I'll have you introduce the thought, and I'm going to go ahead and compliment it. But, Joe, what's your thoughts when I tell you that corrections is a career, not just a stepping stone?
Well, I'll tell you the bold, the honest truth. Back when I started in '92, the first time that I actually put on that uniform, I knew right then and there that it was a career. Back then, corrections was a hidden gem, man. It was the best kept hidden secret that there was in the state of Texas. It was before we had our population explosion, where we opened up like 25 units in a 2.5 year period. It was a hidden gem, and I knew from the minute I put on that uniform, I already knew that was a job I was going to retire, because it had the best benefits, it had the best retirement pension. There was a lot of things that were going on at that time, and corrections pay was actually top of the scale then.
So for me, same thing. I was looking for a job with benefits. Again, looking to get a family. I started around 24, 25 years old, looking for a salary, looking for vacation days, because I was a waiter right before that. So if I wanted to get paid, I had to work. And yes, I can get the days off, but I wouldn't get paid. But the other thing I want people to know is that the reason why I also consider it a career is because there's so much room for growth. If you choose to be intentional with it, you can go up the ranks. You can go to management. You can go to the side to the investigative division. You can go to special teams. You could cross over in departments. Again, corrections is a career because there's so many ways you can travel. I know people that have went from custody to classification. I know people that have crossed over from even the civilian side through different departments, from social services to classification. So there's just so many routes you can go once you're in. But again, for me, what makes something a career outside of the benefits, the salary, vacation days, all that stuff is, can I grow? Is there something that I can continue to do that can continue to elevate me both as a person, but more in my knowledge? Like, is there challenges ahead? And, having said that, do I always have to stay in this one position, or can I move up into something better? So I think for me, there's so many opportunities here that you can't deny the fact that corrections is a great career. I also want to add that people sometimes consider corrections a stepping stone, especially those that are entering as correctional officers that want to become, let's say, police. I'm not a big fan of that. I get that you want to learn some tools that you could probably take with you if you decide to become a police officer or whatever law enforcement agency you want to cross into. But to say that we're a stepping stone, I disagree with that, because that means that we're seen as something inferior. And I'm not going to accept that. I get it. Maybe you want to start here and pick up some tools and then maybe laterally move over to a police department. I'm good with that. I've seen people that worked in police and then move over into corrections. I mean, it's all of what you want to do. But to sit there and come in and say that corrections is a stepping stone the moment you come in, well, the problem with that is that there are people that have made this a career. And believe it or not, you're going to wind up pushing them away right from the get-go. So whatever your dreams are, I'm not saying for you not to do that, not to go ahead and shoot for what it is that you want to do. But remember, be respectful in the moment. A lot of people that say corrections is a stepping stone, they minimize the moment. And now the problem is they're not learning anything in the now because they'd rather be somewhere else tomorrow. And the sad thing is they're in something now that's a great career, but they're more focused on a what if. And if the what if never comes, they wind up feeling themselves, they wind up feeling trapped. And that's a horrible way to have a career. So having said that, keep yourself open, yes, but never minimize the moment or the value of the profession that you're in the moment. So yes, I'm working in corrections, and maybe one day I would like to be a police officer. But let me not focus so much on the future right now to the point where I minimize the value of the profession I'm in the moment, which happens to be corrections, a very noble profession, and to me, a profession that is truly defined by everything that you would get if you wanted to cross into being a police officer. What's your thoughts on that, Joe, with police and well, the stepping stone aspect?
Well, and I agree with you on that. If you come into the job using it as a stepping stone, my personal opinion is that your heart's not in it to begin with, and that you're going to wind up half-assing the job. And in corrections, half-assing the job can get you hurt or get your coworkers hurt. Now, on the flip side of that, I've had plenty of shifts, that had retired police officers that came over to corrections because they really weren't ready to just retire. And they've been some of the best hands I've ever had. Back then when I came in, TDC wasn't a stepping stone. As soon as you walked in the door, you were family right off the bat. And, there really wasn't much to step to from corrections at that time in Texas, because most police departments back then required that you had a college degree in criminal justice. And, a lot of them people, like myself, were coming out of the military, didn't have any college. And thankfully for me, at the time I had already gone through the Sheriff's Academy because I came out of the military, and my military experience counted towards that. But then once I got on as a sheriff's deputy, I found out that Department of Corrections was hiring. And at that time, they actually had better benefits, better, better pay, better vacation, sick time, the whole works. And once I got a taste of that, I actually went to a volunteer status as a reserve deputy and went full time with TDC. So, I mean, it's awesome. I wouldn't necessarily use it as a stepping stone. If you want to use it as a learning experience, I can kind of get down with that. Because you got a lot of people who are in the criminal justice degree college program. And a lot of the colleges now actually give you credit experience if you take a part-time job with TDC. It doesn't necessarily have to be security. It could be classification. It could be offender disciplinary, all the different departments. And like you said, too, we've had several people who came in through Bureau classification in the civilian aspect, doing caseloads and sitting on committees and stuff like that. And because of the experience that gains you, with no security experience, some of these people were coming straight out and being promoted to assistant wardens right off the bat. So, there's so much potential that corrections doesn't need to be used as a stepping stone. If you want to use it as a learning experience in addition to, I'm completely with you and I'm down with that. But, to use it as a stepping stone, to me, it just tells me that your heart's not in it and you're half-assing it. And, when you do that, you take the chance of getting yourself or one of your coworkers hurt.
Yeah, and guys, words matter. I mean, some people may equate stepping stone to learning experience, but be advised when you're on the other end of that, and, you know, someone's telling me, and I mind you, I'm a dedicated professional in corrections. This has been a career for me. And when someone says, well, this is nothing but a stepping stone for them, I do want to support them. Don't get me wrong, but I also want to push them away a little bit too. So if I know that there's conflict in what they're saying, then maybe the verbiage on their end should be, hey, this is something I know I can learn from, as opposed to it being literally a stepping stone. Because now if you're saying that you can learn from me, that kind of elevates me. You know what I mean? To want to help you as opposed to pushing me down. The other thing is, before we get into the next tip, is I remember at the AJA conference, I met with a sheriff who actually was trying to get people to join the career of working in a jail. And one of the things he put in his video was, you know, it's a great stepping stone if you want to cross into police. And then I said, well, that's a conflict there, because if you want people to see this as a serious career, you don't want to put in your career video that corrections or being in a jail is a stepping stone. It kind of defeats the purpose. And he agreed 100%, you know, and I believe he went back and wind up adjusting his video to the point where he got rid of the stepping stone part. Maybe change the verbiage, learning experience, whatever it is. But again, we want to treat this as a career. And the last thing we want to do is promote, you know, coming into this job with a way to get out of the job. You know, to me, it's like, okay, well, you just promoted a job as opposed to a career. You know, if you promote a career, you promote the opportunities from within to keep people there. Not don't promote a job, which gives people a chance to step here and then get out. So again, I thought that was well done by the sheriff when he realized that and then decided to make the switch. Okay, so the second thing, Joe, is corrections is a thankless but demanding career. Can you explore that a little bit, Joe?
Absolutely, man. Just the title in itself is true. I didn't, you know, when I never really realized how thankless being a correctional officer is. You know, everything that we do on a daily basis as a correctional professional, regardless of whether you're a correctional officer, sergeant, lieutenant, even non-security, you know, if you're working in the count room, mail room, medical, whatever the case may be, you know, what goes on inside the confines of that compound, the public never sees. And, you know, I used to tell my staff every day, you know, when I go to shift briefing, I said, man, you know, I take my hats off to you. You guys walk the walk, talk the talk, and do the job that a lot of people don't have the bravery to do. I said, this job is totally thankless, but you guys still come in and do it, you know, every day anyway. And when I say it's thankless, you know, the public sees all the bad stuff, but man, they never get to see the good stuff. And, you know, that pisses me off because there's so much good in corrections that the public doesn't get to see, that the news agencies really don't get to see. You know, it's very thankless and demanding because, you know, now more than ever, nationwide, and hell, I'm hearing some other countries too that corrections is so short. You know, I know in Texas they're critically short. They have one hell of a recruiting program trying to get people in, but you know, as of right now, most officers are working, you know, 12 to 16 hour days during their normal week, and you know, being mandated to work 2 of their 4 days off, sometimes 3 because they're so short. And you know, that takes a lot of time away from your hobbies, yourself, your downtime. It takes a lot of time and demand away from your family, your kids. And, you know, I'm telling you from personal experience, you know, I've been married twice, and, you know, my first marriage ended tragically because, you know, of my pursuit to be a supervisor, that I spent more time worrying about my staff and trying to make sure they're okay and trying to get ahead and trying to, you know, I was really trying to make a better life for myself and my family. But at the same time, I was pushing them away at the aspect of, you know, trying to get ahead. And, you know, it's very demanding, man. If it teaches you anything at some point in time in your career is how to balance your time.
Right. And let me just fix that. Right. And I'm going to tell you something, guys. When we say thankless, it's not about recognition. It's about appreciation. You know, like Joe said, a lot of people don't really know the work we do behind the wall. Even for those that research it, remember, they're intentional in finding out. They're making it known. They want to look it up. They whether they Google it through YouTube or when they become a member in a Facebook group, but they're intentional with it. Most people, they only get it from passively watching TV or watching the news and then accepting what comes their way without challenging it. It's like, oh, hey, this was said by the media today and that must be real. Well, have you talked to someone that worked behind the wall? Did they agree with that? No, don't need to, because my source is going to be the media. Oh, okay. Well, your source is a little bit wrong. But having said that, when there's an agenda against us, most people, instead of thanking us, they wind up being our enemy without even realizing why. It's a very twisted perspective of what we do and the value behind this profession. And the other thing is, it is demanding, as Joe said, no need to repeat, but just in general, this job takes a lot out of you, both physically and mentally, to keep things just general, both physically and mentally. And you're going to have to be aware of that because it comes with a commitment. Now, mind you guys, when I got into the job, my family does come first, but that's what makes me committed to the job or the career, because I need the career to take care of my family. So having said that, my family understood that, and they understood the role I play. They understand the seriousness of this profession. They get it because we are first responders behind that wall. We are essential. So they know, but in the end, they don't make me choose either one, because they know that the reason why I'm doing the one is for them. A lot of family may say, well, you're either going to choose the family or the job. And it's like, well, don't you know I'm doing it for you? So the job is second. It is always second. It's what justifies my reasoning for going back in when I don't want to go in, for doing 70 hours a week. So what people got to realize is that the sacrifices we're making is always going to be for our families. But having said that, the hard part of it all is missing on those events. But what makes it a little bit easier is when your family understands what that commitment is and the benefits of that commitment. Having the medical, the vacation days eventually when you're able to get them. But with that said, the sacrifices, they may not be understood by your young ones at first, but when they get older, they do come around. But when they're young, as long as the other parent can, speak to them and tell them why mommy or daddy isn't here today, let them know that they would love to be here. Trust and believe they would love to be here, but they had to go to work, and at this time, this is why they had to go to work. And it's not so much about what their job does and how it serves the facility. It's more about what they're doing and how it serves the family. A good spouse will always be able to do that and say, hey, I know you're missing daddy today, or I know you're missing mommy, but be advised, the birthday party that we're having for you today is because mommy and daddy have been at work making sure that we have enough money to give you this great birthday party. So having said that, he may not be here, she may not be here, but they are partly responsible for providing this party. So again, guys, it is very demanding, and yes, it could be very thankless. But having said that, for those that get the benefits of it all, like the family who got the benefits and hopefully a good solid living because of this profession, maybe it'd be good once in a while to say thank you for someone who's making those sacrifices, because if we can get it from our family, it motivates us. I don't really care so much about being thanked from total strangers. I really don't, to be honest with you. I take being thanked more by my peers or by the people that matter to me to have the most value. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love for someone from the public to thank me or show them that they understand what we do. So I'm not going to push them aside. But if I had to choose which one weighs more on the scale, it would be my peers or my family, because then it shows that they appreciate what I'm doing, which motivates me more to go back through the grind and whatever sacrifice I have to make to continue making those sacrifices, because I know my family or my peers appreciate that. Joe, before we cross into the next thought, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. When you hear thank you coming from your family or your peers, it definitely means a lot more to you than hearing it from the general public. I've had general public people, come up to me and my wife, for that matter, while we're in uniform and thank us for what we do. And I'm not demeaning that, and I'm not saying it doesn't mean a lot, because it does, because that just lets us know that people are seeing us and they're watching us and they appreciate what we do. But I wholeheartedly agree. I think when it comes from your peers or your family, I mean, like my dad, when dad said, my dad, he was an old military MP, worked in a stockade military prisons. So he knew exactly what I was going through, and he understood from the get-go. And he said, son, I don't understand how you did it all this time, but man, you did a hell of a job, and I appreciate you because, you're out there helping keep the public safe and you're keeping your people safe. And I'll tell you that right there, coming from that old bird that, never said two words once he came home from Vietnam, that meant the world to me.
Yeah, my dad came around eventually too. He didn't want me going in to corrections, but once we were able to chat a little bit more before my dad passed in 2016, we were able to get an understanding of the value that's done behind the wall. Again, because my father's perspective of the profession was also very limited. So that's another thing, guys. If your family doesn't understand what those sacrifices mean, that's your job to kind of express to them the value behind the work. So you better go home believing in what you do, because you need your family to believe in what you do. If your family doesn't believe in what you do, then they're not going to appreciate the sacrifices that you have to make. So that's your job. That's how you translate what needs to be done. And that's a good aha moment for us, to be honest with you. You really need to understand your own value in this profession, and basically, then your family will understand it. Now this is true, guys. This is the obvious, very simple 101 here, but you will see horrible things. Joe, you want to elaborate on that?
Sure. I mean, you're definitely going to be susceptible to seeing things in the penitentiary that you don't see in everyday common public. Homicides, suicides, freak accidents. I mean, you're going to be privy to things that most general public don't even know about. I wasn't really even medically even inclined until I got to the penitentiary, and where I learned about diabetic attacks, low insulin levels, and other, medical emergencies that you come across in the penitentiary that didn't even fathom, in my brain when I signed up. You definitely don't expect to see those things, and it's not on the top of the list when you come to work there, but you will see them. You will see them, and how you deal and how you cope with them will definitely affect your outcome.
Yeah, now, guys, I'm going to kind of speed through that one. You will see horrible things because obviously Joe pretty much explained it, but it does cross into the next one, which I'm going to jump into real quick. If I could start this one, is the career will change you if you let it. Okay, so guys, working in corrections, it could be a negative career. I mean, it could be. I mean, you are going to be surrounded by so many things that it just pushes you to want to have this negative mindset. The strong people in this profession are always intentional with either being positive or being optimistic, because especially now in corrections, a lot of us are losing hope more towards the understaffing and, how changes are happening that are not really beneficial to the staff that work there. But there are some people that choose to remain optimistic and figure that the scale will eventually balance itself out. And again, we're looking to motivate people to get into this profession. So we really can't stay in that negative mindset, because who's going to want to come into that environment? So again, we have to be intentional with the positive. And guys, the positive's there. I'm not saying we're going to lie. We're not lying. We're just being intentional to find it. When someone comes up and tells me one thing negative, I'm going to kick back 5 things positive. That's what you have to do. Again, guys, I have 20 years now. I got to do 25. I don't want to be miserable for 25 years of my life, because if I'm miserable and I give up, then 25 years of my life has no value, no purpose. I'm not willing to trade that off. So I'm going to put all the effort I can to be intentional with finding something great in this profession. Now, it's going to be mentioned in my book, guys, but yeah, there are going to be people that this profession is going to hit harder than others. It is. It's true. I mean, for corrections, everybody's going to have their own level of experiences. I get it. Some people are going to let the profession hit them hard, and they're just going to get punched back and forth and never being intentional in finding the good. Or there'll be some people that are going to get hit just as hard, but every time they get hit, they come right back up and they're intentional in finding something positive, and they stay connected to whatever that North Star is that they have. Mind you, guys, when you're coming into corrections now, you can come in with a purpose. You can come in with something that you feel you can accomplish in your service to others. So if you have that purpose and you have a drive, then it doesn't matter how hard you get hit. You're going to get up and you're going to keep on fighting because what you're fighting for has value. Sometimes the people that get hit hard and they give up and they wind up living just this life of complaining and just not really making any effort to move forward, blaming the profession for everything that's gotten wrong in their lives. You know, if you look back, it's like, yeah, maybe the profession wasn't that easy. And I get it, because corrections, there's nothing easy about working in corrections. But my question is, did you ever fight back? You know, did you ever have something that you felt worth fighting for? You know, because I'm sorry, guys. I mean, this profession will destroy you if you passively let it. But again, you guys, if you're committed to what it is that you want to accomplish here, if you're committed to the value that's being done in this profession, then when you get hit hard, then you get up and you hit harder, you know, because again, nothing hits harder than a defined purpose. You know, nothing hits harder than a defined purpose. And guys, as many people may say, oh, that's words, that's words, that's words. It is words, but you can choose how to apply it. That's on you. All I can tell you is this was my mindset. This has been my mindset, and I love this profession. And my profession, it hasn't been an easy profession for me. All because I'm smiling right now doesn't mean that corrections has been the easiest journey for me in life. I've worked at 4 prisons, 2 of them extremely hard and aggressive, not easy prisons. But I've always came in with a defined purpose. And and we'll get to it later when it comes to family, but man, do I love the people I'm working around because they don't bring me down. They remind me of just the importance of what I do, and they're always able to lift me up. So having said that, and we'll get to that, but for me, I have to remain positive for them. You know, I have to, because at the end of the day, if I don't see the good in this profession, how can I lead? I can't lead anybody. How can I train someone? I can't. So again, it has to be an intentional effort. So again, the career will change you if you let it. What do we mean by that? Is if you're not intentional, this career will hit you hard and you won't recover from it. But if you have a purpose, you have a goal, you know where you want to be, and you're saying, you know, I want to be intentional. And every time I'm hit, I'm going to come back twice as hard with something there that I know is positive, and with that growth mindset, then you will grow. And at the end of the day, when you go to retire, you'll look back and say, you know what? This career was worth it. I'm glad I did 25 years of my life in this career. I watched a video one time where the person goes, I know this may be harder, easier said, but harder to do. But when you don't like your career and you're miserable, then just quit. And most people are like, well, I can't just quit. But you'd rather be miserable for 25 years of your life. And I choose not to do that. So I know I can't quit. I know I need this job to pay for my family. So I've done the most of it. I've moved up in my career, seized whatever external incentives there were, but I also moved up for that growth mindset. I devote time to a YouTube channel. I got 2 books on the market. I'm doing whatever I can. I will find something positive, even in the shittiest of days. And if I can't, if I struggle and I can't, I have a great support team that will help me find something positive. Because in the end of my 25 years, I'm going to look back and I'm going to say, yeah, this profession, yeah, it could have been tough. But I chose to fight back every day, and these are the things that I have accomplished while I was in this profession. And to me, success is about happiness. And I think we can have control of our happiness, effort, and attitude. So if someone says, how do you know when you're successful? It's simple. It's because I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm just fucking happy. So I can have control of that. Hey, what's your thoughts on all that, Joe? I know some people, it's tough because, of course, they're going to play the card that, you know what, this profession will destroy you. And then they wonder why nobody wants to get into this profession. But what's your thoughts? I mean, do you have to be intentional in this profession to find good?
You don't have to be intentional. I mean, a lot of it's mind over matter. You know, a negative mindset spreads like a plague. Don't let it, as long as you don't let it knock you down, you know, and you come in with a positive outlook every day and you keep that, you know, and the people that are around you, a lot of times it's your older hands that always have something negative to say. because they're stalled in their career. They've gotten stagnant. There's a lot of ways to beat that negative mindset. There's other departments you can transfer into, get a change of scenery. There's other jobs, especially when you're a correctional officer. There's so many different spots that you can move around in, transportation, field force, internal jobs like paint squads, inside yard squads, outside yard squads. There's so many different things that you can do to alleviate that negative mindset. But, the main thing is don't get yourself in a rut where it drags you down and you don't get yourself out of it. Everybody's entitled to bad days. We all have them. God knows I've had a lot of them in 30 years. How you treat it and how you move on from it, especially when you've had a bad day. I've like, Anthony said, I've worked on 3 out of my 6 units were maximum custody. And, 8 of my 12 hours I spent on a cell block, administrative segregation cell block, 3 tiers high. And part of the job condition working that is you had to wear a raincoat every day because you knew something was going to get chunked on you, and that was for the entire time you were there, but at the end of that day, I made it. I went home. My family was still safe. I was still safe. And you get up the next morning, you put that uniform on and you do it again and you keep doing it and you keep doing it and you keep doing it, but do it with positivity. Getting yourself in that rut will drag you down and it will drag your coworkers down because eventually that shit will rub off on them. And I'm telling you, you will wind up with a negative bunch. And, any good supervisor will keep the motivation going, will keep the morale up. It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to keep morale and stuff up. But, it's definitely one of those things where you cannot let it change you. Here I am at the end of a almost 30-year career. I got a guaranteed paycheck for the rest of my life. The Department of Corrections is paying me to stay home. They're paying me to stay home. And I look back on my career and think I've seen homicides, suicides, staff assaults, serious staff assaults. I've seen a serious offender on offender. And, at the end of it, you know what? I still have me. You are the one thing that the agency can't take from you. Don't let it change you. Don't let it change who you are. And at the end of it, you're going to, like Angie said, you're going to look back and you're going to go, damn, it was demanding. I gave up a lot of days. But you know what? At the end of my career, I walked away with almost 4,200 hours of time on the books. I was able to go home 6 months early and still collect a paycheck until my effective retirement date. The end goal, as long as you struggle and you push yourself through and you do it with positivity, dude, the reward is just awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that we always go to look back to see where the value is. I remember when I was miserable, because we all go through it. We all go through it, guys. Trust me. I would love getting off work on Friday. I would enjoy Saturdays, but I hate Sundays because I knew I would have to go to work on Monday, and I really lost value in the moment. So I said, you know what? I have to invest time in finding happiness. I have to be intentional with that because if I'm not intentional with finding my own happiness, the problem is the dread of me having to go back to work is going to carry more weight than you could ever imagine. So I have to control that. And this gives me true happiness in the moment without worrying about having to go to work the next day because I'm not dreading it, And I think look at this picture real quick. That's me and my daughter, and we did a character drawing. But I'm happy. I'm happy because I'm living in the moment. Now, I may be on vacation for the next couple of weeks, but for the first time in a long time, even when I have to go back, I'm not dreading it. I'm not going to allow myself to dread it. I'm going to do whatever I can to keep myself positive and ride the course of these 5 years, because if I find some way for the miserable to seep in, it will stay. And then I'll lose out in the value of the moments, even my family, because as much as we talk about separating work from home and home from work, they bleed into each other. They do. They bleed into each other. The point is, how do you balance it? Because they bleed in. It's not about separate. It's how do you balance it? And the thing here with that is by really finding value in what you do, and enough to the point where you don't dread going to work. So at that point, you can actually truly have value for the moments when you're not at work. Because believe it or not, guys, even when you're not at work, you could still be thinking of going back to work. So it does affect you. It affects you 100%. So obviously the best course of action is like, you know what? I know I'm off work. But I know if I have to go back, I'm going to be intentional making sure that I find something good to go back to. Because if I don't, it's like my Sundays are destroyed. My Sundays are destroyed. The only day I have good is a Saturday, because I don't have to wake up the next day worried about going to work. So again, be intentional with that. The last part is corrections is family oriented. What does that mean to you, Joe?
Well, like I said earlier, I mean, the minute you sign on and the minute you walk in, and when I went in, we didn't have all the training aspects and fundamentals and all the training opportunities that they have now. When you walk in, the first thing they tell you is, "Hey, we're a family here. What happens to you happens to us." And it's basically like an adopted family right off the bat. It's dysfunctional as hell. But you're in a family atmosphere. When something happens to you, there isn't a person inside that facility it doesn't affect. It doesn't, I'm not saying when something happens to you on the job, it can be off the job, heart attack, whatever the case may be. And the fact of the matter that, everything is so family oriented, and that there's a multitude of coworkers, a multitude of different departments that just met you and already care about you. Man, it's just awesome. And like I said, when something happens and you look around and all them people are standing there with you, you truly know that it's a family. Everything's family oriented.
Guys, I think I know in the academy, but definitely something that we should reinforce in the facility, something with the culture, definitely starting from above down, is that everything we do is not for the external incentive. I mean, we don't run to a code because we're being paid. We run to a code because Joe's been like a father to me. Joe's been like my brother. That's why it's very important that we reinforce that tight-knit community inside that wall, no matter what department you're from. It doesn't matter because we're all working on that same mission. But having said that, we need that tightness because that's what builds trust. I need to know that me and you are okay, Joe, because I'm very dependent on you, protecting me. And I think that's something that we have to do our best to reinforce. And guys, don't forget, when I say family does have expectations. It's not like we're all forgiven, but family does have a level of expectations, and it's guided within the parameters of what's expected of you within your prescribed role. So having said that, it's not like when I say the word family, it means that people could break the rules and, we're going to be okay with that. That's not what it is. Family does have a level of expectation to it. But having said that, because of the bond that could be, formed behind that wall, it truly becomes a great motivator to run the things that most people would run away from. So I do like to have that family mindset because it truly does become very motivating during the toughest of times. But with that said, it shouldn't be enough that blinds you from being productive as well. So I want to make sure we put that balance in. But again, it's one of the reasons why I stayed in this profession. I felt that a lot of the reasons for me growing and moving up and doing whatever it is would never be even be accomplished if I wasn't supported by the people that I connected with right from day one. And guys, just real quick, because this is a career, be mindful who you connect with at day one. Connect with the people that have the same mindset. So together we support each other's growth. And when we move up, you move up based on a professional trajectory of integrity and doing the right thing, as opposed to, well, I want to connect with someone so bad that I'll connect to just anybody. And then when I go to move up, it's like, you may have gotten the promotion, but I still don't trust you. Right from day one, look to build trust. That's the key. Look to build trust by the senior staff. Look to build trust by the inmate population. Look to build trust by management, and do that from day one. And find people who know how to do that. Find people who currently do that. And again, this is a career, so it does truly start at day one. The choices you make do start at day one. So just make the choices that kind of take you where you need to be. And again, choices that are professional in nature. Hey, Joe, you have anything you'd like to say in closing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great career. It's just like any other job that you put in for. You have good days, you have bad days. The most important thing to remember is it's what you make of it. Keep the positive mindset. Keep yourself positive around your coworkers. Lift them up when you see them down. Be that helping hand. Little encouragement from anybody means a lot. It's family oriented, and we lift family up. And sometimes, there are times where we got to pull family aside and get on. But at the end of the day, we're a family. No matter what, I'm for you and will always be for you, no matter what. So if you go into this job, know that you're walking into a family atmosphere. Know that you're walking into a thankless career. Not everybody's going to see all the positivity that you do within the confines of the walls, but that's okay. As long as you know that you did something well. The public doesn't need to know, hey, I saved 3 offenders from committing suicide today. I did CPR on one today and brought them back to life. The public's not always going to see that or hear it. So, if you're looking for an external incentive, just understand that that's not always going to be there. But your coworkers, those are the ones that are going to come up to you and go, you know what, Gangi, the way you handle that and the way you cut that dude down and the way you did CPR and got that dude breathing, dude, that was one hell of a job. You knocked that one out of the park, dude. Good job. And that's what we were talking about earlier. That means more to me than hearing or seeing that on the news. I give a shit less about them. I'd rather hear from a coworker or a family member. Keep your head up, keep a positive mindset, chug forward, push through, do what you have to do to keep yourself positive. And I'm telling you that the end result is rewarding. And when you look back, just like any other job that you retire from, you had good days and you had bad days, but you know what? I left out of there upright on my own 2 feet every day. And, when you get to retirement, I mean, it's the grand goal. Yeah. It is the grand goal. But, keep the family atmosphere going. Once you sign up and go in, treat others like you want to be treated. Keep yourself positive and listen to the good mentors around you. And for the mentors out there, when you see them quiet officers that don't really want to walk up on anybody and ask them questions, that's your job to go to them. Go to them and lift them up. Keep them encouraged, keep them engaged, keep them involved, and keep them learning. And I'm telling you, you will never go wrong.
Yeah, now, guys, I know we may have said job or career a couple of times interchangeably, but we mean this is a career. It's not a job. We explained that. But this is a career. And I like what Joe said real quick about, we kind of touched on before about the thank you being close to the, how it having more value when it's closer to the people that as opposed to strangers. That's because to me, when I get a thank you from like my family or my peers, it is an appreciation because they're thanking me, not the position. They're thanking me because they know me. When I get it from a stranger, it's more of a recognition. I mean, for some extent, it's a little bit more superficial. It's more about the action as opposed to who I am and really understanding that. So 100%. And guys, again, these are just tips to provide or just things to kind of know. I think this is great knowledge here being sent your way. As always, guys, if you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. That bell is going to notify you every time I post up a video on Tier Talk. And as always, everyone, please stay safe and look for Inmate Manipulation Decoded. Link is in the description. And my new book will be on the market soon. Lessons I learned while working in prison. So, looking for that one, man. I can't wait for you to get your input on that. As always, guys, stay safe.